Welcome to another edition of One More Light with me, Val Kleinhans, where we break the stigma when it comes to mental health. And sometimes we can do that with a little bit of laughter, which is why I invited the wonderful Kym Kral in the building. She's a comedian, actress, writer, fellow podcaster, and model based in LA. Kym, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I love that so much to take the stigma out of mental health. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's important. And I feel like we can do that with comedy. We can do that with laughter. There's so much that we can work with when it comes to material like that. And I definitely want to dive into that with you. But with all those jobs that I just listed, because that was a lot, I have to ask, like, how are you not burnt out?
Oh, I am.
I,
I am. I'm working on this balance thing where, because right now and I also have day jobs too, because late stage capitalism. I live
right.
in Los
Oh, yeah.
Angeles, whole thing.
Uh,
And so all of my jobs just went dark, and I'm which is good, but I'm like trying to find a balance between, because what I'll do is I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I can barely like see straight, and I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed out and I'm so freaked out. And then it's like, oh my God, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Oh my God, money's not coming. And so I'm trying to like,
uh,
this month is really dead. And I'm like, you have a mountain long to-do list. Why don't we just
yeah.
relax and do
Yeah.
that and know the money will come and the jobs and work will come? So it depends on where you get me, but right now I'm not really that burnt out because nothing's happening.
Well, no, I feel that too. But I'm the kind of person that has to fill an hour with everything possible, imaginable. Like just whether I'm at work or whether even when I'm at home, I'm like, well, there's a pile of laundry. Could do that. Oh, could straighten up this for the cat. Could do this. Could do that. It just
Yeah.
it gets to be exhausting. So when you are in a moment of burnout, what do you do for yourself? How do you take care of yourself?
Oh man. I'm working really hard on being very nice to myself.
Mm,
That's like my number one thing I say to friends and family. Like anyway, like be nice to yourself. My God, like we're so fucking mean to ourselves. Like
yeah.
if you told me like like if you told me something that was going on that is happening, like if the tables were turned and it was you that was being like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, all this stuff, I wouldn't be like, wow, it sounds like you're being really lazy. Don't you think you should do the dishes? You know what I mean? I would be like, hey, have some water, relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it always works out. And I also learned something a long time ago from an old mentor of mine that I still implicate, called the implicate. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm
Employ,
implement.
tap
Imp,
into,
I still use
still use,
implement. That's the word.
implement.
Implement. Jeez. That I still use, and it's called the happy list.
Oh,
I wrote down, and I don't have it here, but I wrote down all the things, like simple things that make me happy.
oh,
And the cool thing is I don't have it here because I don't need it anymore. But you write it down, like little things, like even if it's just like sitting outside and reading a book with a cup of tea, like coloring in a coloring book, watching an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like anything that brings you joy, write that
yes.
down. And so when you feel like you're like burnt out or you're feeling bad or you're feeling any of that, just go to the happy list and do one thing on it, just one thing. And what happens is it becomes a habit. So when you start to get burnt
Mm,
out or you start to become like, you show up for yourself as a habit because every time you were doing it before. So I recommend happy list, even if it's
make
something tiny.
yeah, it makes total sense because that sounds a lot like my "I'm depressed, get me the hell out of it" list. Like
Yeah.
when, like
But maybe make it something nicer to yourself.
right. That's I'm the worst to myself. I think we all are like our own worst enemy to
I
some
know.
extent. But that's what I have to do. Like when I'm spiraling and like seriously like feeling low and not that great, I have learned to make a list of things I enjoy that I would miss should,
Oh,
God forbid, I get really, really low. And then I
yeah.
go, well, I do still want to do that. I do still enjoy that. I would miss that if I wasn't here. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do
Like
it. Don't do it. And oh,
puts it in
that,
perspective.
yeah. And it breaks my heart because there's so many people, and especially in this connected world, we're so disconnected, like more
Right.
so. And and there, I mean, we in the community, a comedy community, we lose a lot of people. You know, the
Yeah.
sad clown is real. We get sober, we get help, or we die, and whether if it's by ourselves or by something. And so we lost a very funny comedian, Neil. God, why can't I remember his name? Wrote down to remember his name because but he committed suicide a few weeks ago,
Mm.
and it's so rampant in our community, and especially in, you know, in entertainment, and it's just like remembering who, you know, people miss you, people like,
Yeah.
and I had a show the other night, and this comic who was hosting it, we had just lost Neil, and she goes, you know, I'm looking at social media and I'm looking at everything, and all we're doing is talking up Neil and how great Neil is and how much we miss Neil. And she goes, so I have decided I'm going to do that for my friends now who are alive, because Neil would have fucking killed to hear all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so she went around the room to every comic and like said all the things. She goes, this is what I would say if God forbid something happened to you, but this is how I feel about you now. And it's just like, oh, it just breaks my heart. Cause so many of us feel that way. And
A lot of us. Why do you think that is so prevalent in comedy? What are your own thoughts on that?
they are not my thoughts. And because somebody put it into words after this one, and I was like, ding, 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 ding.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
a comic named Gabby Lamb that I don't know very well, very, very funny, but we'll like hug. If we see each other, we say hi, but we're not like pals.
Mhm.
She posted a thing, and it was like, this industry, like comedians, we need instant gratification and validation from strangers about our humiliation and pain. So
Mhm.
most jokes come from pain. Most jokes, you know, come from humiliation and pain. And
Right.
when we don't get that instant credit, like it's like a really fucked up. I'm glad you let me know I could swear. But
We don't care. Yeah.
oh my God, but like it's a really fucked up thing that we, you know what I like, we
It
like
is.
tell strangers this stuff that like we bare our souls to strangers, and it's us. It's just us up there. It's not
Mhm.
a movie crew or, you know, like a writer and then an actor, and it's like it's me on that stage. And I think it does, I think it attracts people with mental illness. I mean, I have mental illness and I'm a comedian. I'm home. Like that's, and so
Yeah. There's something you can almost relate to, I think. When I
yeah.
like, I don't know, certain jokes, I mean, that I hear from any sort of comedian, like Eliza Schlesinger bitching about like how fucked up millennials have it right now
Oh
and
my
the
God.
housing
Her
struggle,
Gen
things like that.
Z, her
Yeah.
Gen Z joke is fire.
Or
Yeah.
just, but like, that's just an example. Like when I hear things like that, I'm like, I get it. I relate to that. And it's funny, but it's not. It's really weird. It's like it shouldn't be this
Yeah.
way, but it is. But it's good that we have this community around us and we have like this art form of comedy to sort of relieve that a little bit. Aside from being a podcaster, you and I also have terrestrial radio in common, is what I call it, like actually being on the air.
Oh,
So I used to do it many years ago. For just like 7.5 years, I did it in Illinois, and here in Minnesota, where I am now. But I left it because that screwed with my mental health. So I was just
really?
curious, did you have any type of weird experience in radio too, or any industry where you just felt like this is not conducive to my mental health and I need to change things up?
Um, I mean, with the radio, it was interesting because it was serious. It was a Dash comedy. It was Dash Radio,
Hmm.
which is a free, serious platform.
Hmm.
Um, and it was live, but it was also podcast. And my
Yeah,
partner
yeah.
and I have now since like we made it into a podcast. My partner and I had were really close, but had communication issues, and I've been very open about it on my podcast. And and he and I have made amends, and I
Hmm.
think one and we neither one of us wanted to lose this opportunity of this radio
Hmm.
show, and who was running it was a big comedy guy and a whole thing. And so a lot of the stuff with the radio that I struggled with was a relationship with my partner, and like, and we weren't dating at all, but like
Interesting. Okay.
trying to figure out. And I also in and he and I had talked about it, and when we first started the show, my he was like the straight man, and my role was to play the dumb girl. I'm dumb and
Oh,
I'm slutty and all this stuff. And
yeah.
and I evolved in those years, And we've since talked about it where he was like, you sort of changed the rules and I didn't know. And I was playing an old role and we hadn't talked about it. So I was getting angry at him while he was like, but I'm playing the role. And he's
Okay.
like, and so I know like that was something that was fucking and but I've never left an industry where I'm like, this is fucking with my mental health that I need to leave. Besides working in like a bar, because I also bartend. I have 100 jobs. Um,
She's not busy, guys. She's not
I
busy.
cry every day. Just I'm not kidding, but sometimes in a good way, I cry every day.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting shift because it was like I was growing and changing and learning my voice and my power and that I'm not an idiot and I'm a woman. I'm a
Yes.
strong, powerful woman. And
Yes.
he didn't know how like, and I get his side where he's like, you just sort of changed the show. And he's like, and I absolutely love that you are becoming this powerful woman because he's
Yes.
believed in since the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the pandemic took the radio show from us. And we're both
Okay.
so grateful that it happened because I don't think he and I would have gotten to a point where we would have been able to make an amends. And I don't think
Yeah, yeah.
and the guy who ran the show, who ran the whole comedy
Mhm.
channel, was like knows me well now and is like, I watched how fucking funny you were and how smart, and you're in a room full of men that are sexualizing you and making fun of you. And he's like, and I hate
Yes.
watching you go through that. But I played that part because I didn't know how else to be there without that. And
Right. And you're
and
doing everything you can to hold on to that opportunity tooth and nail because they don't come by super often. No, the misogyny, the chauvinism, dear God, I could do a whole episode just on that. And I think that's a experience unique to women, particularly in radio.
yes.
And that's
And
honestly a big
comedy, and yeah, comedy is the
comedy
same.
too. Oh,
It's so funny because comedy has changed so much since I started for women comics.
mhm.
When I first started, I would get introduced as the next comic is a woman and she's hot. And
Oh
that
God.
was like, and that was normal. And like, I would go into rooms and I would be like, hi, I'm so and so. This person booked me. And no one would talk to me. And then I would be hilarious. And then the people who were not kind to me when I came, the men who were not kind to me when I came
Right.
in, were like, hi, my name is so. And it's changed so much to where it's not that way, but it's
Mhm.
still a boys club. And
Yeah.
there's still some men that are like, well, women aren't funny. You'll see them on podcasts where like there's like one
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
but it's
There's
like
always one bro out there.
I feel like it's like I feel like it's like a dying animal, like the dying Republican Party. I feel like they're being really loud right now, like you know what like a dying animal is loud before it dies. And I feel like that's what like the misogynist, I mean not all of them, but I think it's shifting, but I think
Yeah.
that
That's bonkers. I'm like, say that to Nikki Glazer's face, please, and then you
oh
see
my
what
god.
happens. I'm like, I can't even imagine. But it's like the gumption, the balls.
Yeah, I mean, and also, by the way, women are hilarious. I think just
Yes.
because we haven't been able to be in like charge the whole time. I love that it does this, by the way. Did you see
Oh,
the thumbs up?
the little bubbles, yes.
Yeah, I love it, and I'll never change it. But like we haven't been like historically, we haven't been able to be in charge in the spotlight, funny, all that stuff because well, childbirth kind of took us out for a long time. Like that was more, what, like the patriarchy.
Right. Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, women are funny. Women can have kids and run businesses. Women can do all these. And so I think it's shifting, but I definitely, that has hindered my mental health. And
Mm,
I've thankfully had a lot of great men in my life and a lot of great women that
okay.
have, I don't like the like blanketed all men suck. Although the older I get, the more I'm like, do I feel that way? I don't. I don't.
Maybe like 80%, maybe 80, 90%.
Am a human woman that lives in the world and I do
Yeah.
experience a lot. So I don't know, but I don't know if
Yeah.
I answered the question at all. Sorry.
No, you did. You gave us an inside look as to a whole other industry where this is happening as well, which I find really interesting. So, but you didn't leave. You stayed. You're still doing the thing. Why is that? Is it because laughter is maybe a form of medicine for you? Like, how are you staying mentally healthy while doing this?
Oh man. I mean, definitely I survived a lot in my life because of I don't know if laughter helped me or if I had to get laughter to help me. You know what I mean? I don't know which one
Mm.
came first, chicken or egg, but I I think when you have this comedian thing, comics say it all the time, like if you're able to quit, like you're not a comic, and like it chooses you,
Ah, got it.
and it's a compulsion. Like it's like if you're like, okay, well, the sad clown, if you guys get sober, get help or die, why don't you just leave? And it's like it's in me. And I think laughter, I mean, I had an uncle who passed away a while ago, rest in peace, but he was like, I don't think you should be making a joke about everything. And I was like, I disagree. I think everything is on the table, but it better be fire. Like if you're going to make a joke about something horrific, it better be fucking fire. But I think the reason
Yeah.
why we make jokes about things is to help us endure tragedy, you know?
Yes.
And I think that has helped me. I mean, I'm enjoy my own company. I will say in the lockdown, when the lockdowns happened, I called. I'm in a 12-step program. I'm in adult children of alcoholics. I'm very open about that. Not the sober one, but the one who grew up with the ones who had to get sober.
Right.
Yeah. And so I called my then sponsor and I was like, hey, I live alone. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be okay.
Mm.
And, she was also going through her own thing because we all were in that time. So I'm not faulting her. She's not my sponsor anymore, but she was like, yeah, everyone is going through this. And I was like, no, I think I might do something. Like, I was like, I'm scared. Like, I'm really scared. And she
Yeah.
was like, yeah, everyone is like very, and I don't think she was trying to be dismissive, but like, and I also wasn't like, hey, I might hang myself. Can you help me? But I
It
was
wasn't
like,
clicking. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I've been barely holding on for so long, like just like white knuckling everything. And I'm fine. And I, that day after I got off the phone with her, I was terrified. And I got a message from someone in program that was like, hey, we're going to do a daily meeting on Zoom. And I just showed up every day to that and like I was like, I'm going to dedicate whatever. At the time we thought it was 2 weeks, then it was like 4, then
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, I'm going to dedicate this time to loving myself. And I know that's
Yes.
super, you know, mushy, but like
It's super Instagram model y, but we get it.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is, but it's like
But
I
it makes
did.
sense.
I showed up every day. Like a lot of people, like I had a
Yeah.
friend that we're not really friends anymore. She called me. She's like, I'm going to have a party. I'm going to be drunk this entire time. And I was like, oh, I'll kill myself. So I'm not going to drink. I'm going to like, just like meditate and write. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I love that you can laugh at, I won't kill myself. Sometimes
Well,
you hear the people and they're like, oh,
listen,
but
I come from a pretty loud Italian American family on the East Coast, and like we're the dry, sardonic, like to the point humor, that's up our alley. Like
that's your
we get
thing. Okay, good. Cause that's mine too.
it.
But I think that is what, and then and the wild thing is now I have my own back. Like before, if like something
Mhm.
went down and everyone and like people were like, you were being a dick, and the old people pleaser would be like, yeah, I'll just admit fault. And I just operated under the assumption that I was
Yeah.
wrong. And now I'm like, no, I have my own back. And of course I make amends and I admit fault when I have it. But like now I just like unshakably love myself. And I'm grateful
Yeah.
for the lockdowns. I know that sounds
No,
crazy.
but you're not the first person that said that to me. Like a lot of us, there are some people that I know that have been like, no, I actually really got to know who I am as a human without the the work schedule, the distraction, for lack of better term. They're like, no, this was actually really great for me, and I can embrace me a lot better. I mean, it depended on how you use it. I'm learning that like ended up burning myself out because I was still doing a lot of podcasting at that time just because I wanted to be busy. I wanted to be doing something. I wanted my mind on something.
Yeah.
And then I
Because
had
if
to
you
sit back and
stop,
go, right. I had to say, because if you stop, you have to deal with the emotions. That was
yeah.
my problem. And I was like, screw it, you need to take a second. Like this is not, healthy. It's not what we're doing. But you touched on a good point about, yes, you were there for yourself. But what I'm also learning from you is that you built community around you,
Oh my
however you
gosh.
had to. And that was a key important thing. And you did this by, going to different clubs. I mean, I'm sure maybe you built your own community within coworkers or people that you've networked with. Talk to me about building that community. What do you think it took to build a strong, supportive community like the one that you have now?
You know what's wild about that? Because it's new. It's not new. There are some people that I've had for 20 years, and there's some people I've had
Mm,
for, like 5 or 6 years. But in 2022, I had some toxic-ish people in my life. They
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
like awful, horrible people. They just weren't they weren't the supportive people I wanted in my life, right? And I clapped out of a lot of relationships. Just like, I wasn't like, I'm breaking up with all of you. It was just like, I just distanced myself, and it was really hard. I was alone for a little bit. And this last year, I've people like, I made room for people that loved me, that love me.
Mm,
And I
mhm.
think too, those people wouldn't have come into my life, even if, like, when I didn't, because I'm trying to articulate this. Like, when I started to love myself, the toxic people just sort of fucked off on their own, right?
Trash takes
Like,
itself out every time.
yeah, every time. And so it wasn't like I didn't have to break up with anybody. I just started caring about myself and standing up for myself and saying, no, I'm not going to put up with that.
Mhm.
And the toxic people kind of fucked off. And that kind of sucked for a little bit because, you know, sometimes being alone is scarier than being with someone who's shitty to you. And I was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
we love ourselves. So we're going to hang out. And I don't think the people that have entered my life in the last year would have entered it had I didn't love like, if I wasn't so in love with myself. But you know what I mean? Like, if I wasn't
Yeah.
but if I wasn't like who I am now. So I had to go through all those toxic people. But then
Mm,
I just went home, and not even home for Christmas. That's so weird that I'm calling it home. I have friends that I call my family. I'm not close to my family. Uh very close. I'm not, it's kind of a weird, but I'm
every
not.
family is a little weird. I swear to
Yeah, I
God,
don't go
every
home for
single one.
Christmas. I don't think
Yeah.
they're home. I don't, it's a lot of chaos. And this year I went to Maryland, where my home is. Like, the like bunch of people that are like my family, their kids call me Aunt Kim. I went
Huh.
home for Christmas, and it was like, I've built this life around myself. And I think the
Yes.
key is learning to love yourself. I think it all starts inside, man. I think
Yes. Well,
it's an
no,
inside.
there might be something to that. It starts here, and then, oh, now I feel well enough to, I don't know, maybe perceive things a little bit more realistically, and thus attract what's better for me or filter out what isn't. And the community
Yeah.
sort of
It
follows
comes,
in
yeah.
that trajectory.
Because the thing is you tell people like, no, I don't deal with that, or I don't put up with that kind of behavior. Most
Mhm.
people who are shitty aren't going to hang out with someone who tells them no. You know what I like? So it's like,
Yes.
you're like, no, I don't do that. And then they go away, and then there's room for, but it's scary. It's scary, like, losing
It is.
friendships but it's rewarding because it pays off in spades. I have two women in my life that, like, just came into my life literally a year ago, and I'm like, how do you guys, like, where did you come from? Like, what's the catch? When are you going to be crazy or toxic, or when are you going to realize I'm a fraud? Like, all, you think everyone thinks you're a fraud, and
Yeah,
you're not, but community, I don't know, starts with, it's an inside job.
it is. And you talk a little bit about this on Crawl Space too. I freaking love the name. As soon as I saw it, I started cackling. I'm like, that's insanely perfect. Well,
Thank
so tell me about the podcast. Tell me everything. Tell me what you're excited about, what you do. I know that's a little bit of what you do, but gloat on.
Thank you. I love gloat on. I love that.
Yeah.
So Crawl Space started. So lockdowns happened. Comedy's over. Bartending, like, everything I
Yeah.
do is in front of humans. So, someone texted me and they're like, "Oh, and I started this is so dumb. I had never seen The Walking Dead before, uh, ever."
What? Oh boy.
And
Okay.
then it locked
Okay.
out. Oh, now I've seen it 5 times. I'm obsessed with it. The Rick and Michonne spinoff is coming soon, and
Yes.
I mean, like, I'm trying not to rewatch the whole thing just because
Yeah.
I've seen it literally 4 times in 4 years. And so
Mhm.
when it had happened, I started making these Instagram videos just talking about how my mind was blown about something. Even my buddy who was the Dash comedy partner, I
Mhm.
texted him and I was like, "Hey, something about the governor. And he goes, we all did this 8 years ago. I'm not doing this with you. And so I think people were watching more because like I was blown away by things that everyone had already seen. And so people were like, we can't wait till you get to Negan. We can't wait till you get to this. And so I was making these dumb videos where I was just blown away by all of this stuff. And this guy messaged me, a friend, and he goes, hey, what are you going to do while all this is shut down? And I was like, I don't know. He goes, I think you should do a podcast. He goes, your videos are getting some people are laughing a lot at you. I think you should do a podcast. And I was like, so I put it out on Instagram. I was like, would you listen? And my friend Dave Neal, so my friend Matt Neal, not related, Matt was like, you should do a podcast. And then my friend Dave Neal, who is blown up, he has his own podcast about The Bachelor. I know it's about The Bachelor, but I don't know what it's called. But he came up with Crawl Space. I was like, all right, what would be the name? And he was like, it's got to be Crawl Space. My uncle, another one who died, has an email that's crawlspace@gmail.com. And for a while, I was sending people that email because I forgot.
Oh, no.
But I think it's either the dead one or the alive one, but the alive one would enjoy all the poop scoops. So, which is the pooping your pants.
Right.
So it first started out with me just like talking about college and talking about, but as I said, like during that time, I was doing all this deep dive and going in like program and doing all this deep dive into my life and so it went from like goofy stories to me going on this journey and talking about, and it became really clear to me, similar to you, that I want to talk about mental illness. I want to talk about, I was sexually abused. I want to talk about that. Like, I want to talk about that as loud as I can because it's not my shame. And I think like so many people are victims of sexual abuse and so many people don't come forward, don't know. Like I've gotten emails of people being like, thank you for sharing this. This happened to me and I thought I was alone. And my goal in this life is like to stand on a stage like Tony Robbins style and talk about this because I think if you shine, I literally talked about this on Crawl Space and also another podcast I was on, but like shine a light on this dark, ugly thing, we might be able to help like if someone like me was talking about her experience when I was a kid and I heard it, I might have been able to ask for help. I might have been able to be like, maybe. And so Crawl Space has turned into this weird morph of like, I talk about my life. I talk about my struggles. I talk about my abuse and mental illness. And then I tell goofy stories. And then people send me stories about how they've pooped their pants or come close. Or I tell my own.
It's just the worst when that happens. I've had it happen multiple times. I'm just like, yeah, barbarians are at the door.
Scoop.
Please send in poop scoop.
Yeah, or you can record it. It's a solo podcast, so I don't have guests, but I do have people record it, and then I play it as the recording. But or you can be anonymous and you can just email it. Please, it brings me so much. It brings everyone joy. We've all pooped our pants.
All of us, like my husband and I, sometimes fight over the one bathroom that we have in our apartment. I'm just like, barbarians are at the door, dude. Got to go in.
Is that the poop?
Yes, that means it's time.
I love that so much. Pounding on the door. I love that.
Like they're at the gate. We got to go. It's go time. Cut it short. And then he's like, I can't. And then it just becomes this argument, and then we laugh about it later.
Has any of you ever had to poop in the sink or a trash can?
No, we had to go to our neighbors though. We did it. We were like
more reasonable than what I just said.
I was like, we were close enough with a neighbor, and I was like, Kevin, I gotta go. And he's like, what? I'm like, move. And I like ran past him and went to the bathroom. He's like, you have a bathroom. What are you doing? And then I explained what happened. He goes, oh my God. Okay.
Well, it'd be really funny if no one was in your bathroom and you just really needed to poop in Kevin's bathroom.
Yeah, he would have asked many questions. He would have been like, huh?
It was a dare. But so that's Crawl. And then, I do comedy. I wrote a book. I also wrote a book in the lockdowns. So, that's mostly, so I'm funny and I try and talk about hard shit and I try to make it funny as well.
Yeah, no, we love that. We love that energy. Can we expect more Crawl Space? What else is coming for you? What can we look forward to?
I don't think Crawl Space is going away anytime soon, mostly because I think I need it more than everyone else needs it. I do a lot of guest hosting on a podcast it used to be Unpopular Opinion. Now it's You Don't Even Like This Network. And the guy who runs that, he and I think we're going to we have an upcoming project that we don't TBD. We don't know what it is yet, and we're acting really secretive about it. Like we've been planning it, but truthfully, we're like we'll do something because we have a good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get another book out in the next year, and then also record an album. I have a person who wants to produce my comedy album, so a few things are coming up. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Fun.
Scary, super fucking scary, but. What else am I going to do? You know what I mean?
You got to do it. It's part of who you are. I love it. I can't wait for it all. Kym, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and thank you for your time.
Val. Thank you so much, Val.